okay, we're going to win this. Boys, typical boys. They had a plan. Every time they got a level code, they noted it down in their Word document, and then flipped back to the game. And then eventually they realised, heck, we could get a cheat sheet offline. I did, Kyle, did you finish with the cheat sheet?
No, it took too long to load.
Took too long to load, so.
And it had the wrong instructions.
It had the wrong instructions?
I think so, because he told me to do something and it wasn't right.
Yeah,
I did something different that worked.
So we have our first piece of transactional writing, which comes from almost every game. Cheat sheets are notoriously badly written.
Yes.
Because the geeks playing the games are not exactly the best writers. It's not their main concern at the time. So transactional writing is really hard. When I was at school, I had to write how to make a fruit salad. And they made a fruit salad. And they still do it now. It's the most, I mean, I've never made a fruit salad since. It's not really a passionate thing. But if I was told, make a cheat sheet for a game you play, I would have loved it. I think one teacher back in the elementary, I remember saying, describe football, soccer, as if an alien had just landed and didn't know what anything was.
It's audio as well.
Tough thing, and we're all football crazy, we love that.
Really tell you.
So, I asked you to read the game quite critically. What did you notice about the structure of a game?
It has rules.
It has rules, yeah. But about the structure of the game as a story, shall we say? So what do all the games have in common? How does Samaros, hand up who played Samaros, okay? How does Samaros open?
It sets a stage, a context,
Set the
because
stage.
something happens.
Yeah, we see the alien planet, we see the friendly planet,
Yeah.
we meet all the characters involved, and we have the denouement, we have the story is revealed, the dog is kidnapped, and off it goes. And then I actually heard some of the people go, right! And they realised that the game had started at that point. Up until then, it was just a movie that we were watching. So there's a setting the scene, there's characterization, there's the moment of intrigue where something happens, and then your goal is to play the game and get to the end. But basically, it's a fairly simple story outline. What context could the Samaros players see Samaros being used? Is there anything coming up in your curricula in the next 12 weeks between now and Christmas that would actually fit quite well in? Yeah?
Well, I was thinking about when you were talking about making a cheat sheet. One of the courses that I teach is an online computer science course, and one of the things that we get into first is the idea of what an algorithm is. So what I would do is I would send them into the game, and I would have them write a cheat sheet, and then come back to it afterwards and say, okay, so this is a series of steps for accomplishing a goal.
Yeah.
That's an algorithm.
Perfect. Okay. Anything that 6-year-olds could do? Maybe 6-year-olds can write algorithms. But, I'm just thinking, trying to get a little bit more some variation as well in the ideas. I've never heard that. That's cool. Never thought of doing that kind of thing. Yeah, that'd be cool. Anything else come up? Yeah.
Well, you could have grade 6 students. You said.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? You could have them compose a music track for it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're lucky enough to have Max, then you've got GarageBand. Okay. If you're normal and have a competent Dell in the corner of your classroom, you could use Audacity. You could do some live recording of singing, of sounds. Think about one of the things about Myst is the soundtrack. If you turn the soundtrack off, same as those games, it's nothing. It doesn't have any emotional tag. But yeah, it's basically like going back to film studies. You know, you turn the music off and see what happens. So you could rewrite the music and then turn off the music of the game and play your music with it. And then you're talking about loops and automated loops. And the thing about music is, if you repeat anything more than twice, it sounds wrong. So how do you write a good loop that's going to be played over and over again? Good one, yeah. We'll leave that to simmer for a while and suggest a couple of other things. And please interrupt if you have ideas as you go. We're talking, a couple of guys that here talking about what's going to come next or what kind of things. Retail stories was another option that I put up there. Did anyone have a go? Play the first story. It sounds strange to play a story, but this is what Penguin did. The guys who wrote this, Dan and Adrian Hahn, are alternate reality game writers. They are absolutely writers, but they program kind of games that make you read the literature. So Penguin, to celebrate their, well, some kind of anniversary, they took 6 classics, which are down here, and changed them. So we go from the 39 steps, it's changed to the 21 steps. And it was written by a new, kind of, well, relatively new, fresh author, Charles Cumming, who comes from the same place as the original author of the 39 Steps. So if I just, I preloaded it just in case. That's not it. That's it there. So here is, you can see the chapters down the left-hand side. So we click it, it gives you instructions. Is that the other thing you noticed? That apart from, we had this discussion here, do you need instructions to play it? Nobody asked for help.
Well, we went and found cheat sheets.
Yeah, but you had at least you had the initiative to go and find cheat sheets. Most people, when they play games, don't need instructions. You don't need an activity. You just go and follow. So here, it's going to load chapter 1, and this is based in London. And it's really hard to write a game like this because your sentences have to fit into a Google Earth bubble. So I was the wrong man in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'd only come to St Pancras to see what all the fuss was about. Champagne bar, Eurostar. You couldn't open a newspaper that week without some journalist telling you what 800 million quid railway station looked like. It was only a 10-minute walk from my flat, and it wasn't as though I had anything better to do. Then the blue line's drawn. Now this is basic geography and geometry. Latitude and longitude. Plot it on a Google Earth map and have the blue line drawn. Being unemployed, all that unemployable, leaves you with a lot of time in your hands. You see him walking into the station. I entered via the southeast corner and found a flight of steps which brought me up under the vaulted roof. Now that was quite something, a brand new sky of steel and glass. The rest of it, as far as I was concerned, looked like a glorified shopping mall, but then I'm not an expert. It's actually a murder mystery, which you go on and discover the body. I played this on a train on a mobile broadband connection, and it worked perfectly. You actually end up flying to Edinburgh, so you fly over the British Isles, you land in Edinburgh, the story continues there. And here's the moment I picked the left-hand exit and was going through alone when Calva came towards me. He was staring directly ahead with a look of pure adrenalized terror in his eyes. And this is the kind of writing kids are perfectly capable of, I think. Rick, he gasped. I was stunned that this stumbling, crazed figure knew my name. I'd never seen the guy before in my life. He was about 50 years old, tanned and Kojak bald, wearing a suit which was torn in the knees. Rick, he said again, then collapsed at my feet. Go on to chapter 2. In chapter 2, you know you were getting frustrated with the loading times of each of your levels. Well, this is forcing the cliffhanger to last a little bit longer. Genuinely. Because they could have done it as one continuous thing, and they chose not to. They chose to make you have a loading time, artificially. So there's a bit of thought going into this. Students, any student could help, could program that kind of thing on Google Maps. That is not difficult to do. You can find out quite easily here. So worth considering that kind of thing. What was nice is that in here they actually had telephone numbers. And I was sat there at the train board, saw this phone number in the story and phoned it. It was actually part of the story. And it gave you a clue that helped you work out who the killer actually was a little bit quicker than anyone else. So can you imagine that with your students? That they have a phone number that you text. When you text it, you get sent back a message which reveals where you've got to go next. You could all that just buy a cell phone for $20 to do that on a pay-as-you-go when you're away. So you could do some interesting stuff there. So these are alternate reality games, if you like. We talked about World Without Oil. There's a great explanatory video now on the site that kind of gives you the backstory of World Without Oil. So if you didn't quite catch it the first time round, then you can watch this documentary which explains it with a bit of retrospect now that oil prices really are as high. So your students could create these kind of videos, role plays. What would happen if, so when we turn into a police state if petrol prices went that high? What kind of habits would we have to change? How is it when you have to eat food that only comes from within half a mile of your home? And actually set that as a challenge for your students offline in the real world, and get them to report on it in the online world, and the two kind of begin to merge together. Hotel Room Secret is a game I play when I travel. Basically, you go into a hotel and you leave a secret about the city, like a cool bar, cool restaurant, something like that, hidden somewhere in the hotel room. And then you publish it on Hotel Room Secret, and other people who visit the site go to the same hotel, ask for the same room, and discover your little piece of paper, and then they leave a hint in the room as well. So again, these kind of games that take place in real life. So can you imagine your school being kitted out, or your district being kitted out with lots of clues about how to exploit school grounds to their full? And then to discover them, kids have to go online or send messages, or you turn something that's banal into a bit more problem-solving exercise, much more engaging. There's like a game open in the background, I don't know which page it is. This is a project that we did in Edinburgh. Basically, Edinburgh's got some pretty